name is Richard Mwebesa. I am an award-winning author and bestseller of 3 titles so far. My first book is called Out of the Crowd, The Ultimate Guide to Mastering the Art of Standing Out. Then my second book is called Inspired by 40, the book I'm talking about today. And lastly, my last book is called Feast of the Nile, an anthology of illustrative poems. The book Inspired by 40 is a book of quotes. It's a book of 40 quotable quotes about the topics of love, hope, character, and lifestyle. These are quotes that I wrote during the time of COVID lockdown, and they were quotes that I believed that would help people improve their lives because I was seeing what was going on during the times of COVID lockdown. People were passing on, many people were getting sick and getting ill, so I compiled these 40 quotes that were meant to inspire people about improving their lives, about living the proper lifestyle, and of course chasing their dreams and going for their dreams. I always see people enjoy reading WhatsApp messages because they are precise, they are quite brief, succinct. However, when you give most people a big volume book of 100 pages or so, they don't get so motivated or inspired to read big volumes. So I thought to myself and said, how can I put down very precise messages that can be easily read and easily remembered? That's why these quotes are quotable quotes. Someone can quote them for the references, the 4 references I mentioned: the love reference, the lifestyle, the hope, and character. And they are easy to remember. So for me, during that time of lockdown, I was seeing what was going on. People were passing, colleagues, even some family members passed on in my own family and relatives. So it was a very intense time. I would hear sirens of ambulances. So I had time on my hands and I said, let me write about hope. At one time I prayed about it and asked God, give me an idea that I may put down something that can inspire other people and give them hope, especially hope, because those times were really very tight. The times were very tough and things were not going so well for very many people around. Of course, the illness, there was lockdown, people lost their jobs. So I said, let me put down these quotes. But before, I was using the quotes to promote my first book, Out of the Crowd. I had developed an idea to use brief quotes, some of them that had been put in the book of Out of the Crowd. So I would do flyers and push them on social media to be able to promote my first book, Out of the Crowd. When I put together this course, I remember I said I prayed about direction from God. What do I do? So as I was praying, I got direction to put together this book of quotes, to compile the quotes that I was using to promote my first book, Out of the Crowd, into a book. So I was arguing and saying, well, I've never come across a book of quotes. No one in the world that I know at least has ever written a book of quotes. So it was a bit of a conflict in me saying, okay, who will ever buy the book of quotes? No one buys quotes. So how are you going to monetize? Anyhow, I got the idea that this book is free. You should not sell the book because it's a book that you're compiling on subject matters that are freely given. Love is freely given. You cannot put a price tag on love. Hope is something that is freely given. You don't have to buy hope. You can't say I bought hope in 10 kilos or I bought love in 30 kilos. These are things that you can't quantify and monetize, so to speak, from my perspective and understanding. Then about lifestyle, the way we live our lives, of course, determines our end game or our destiny, the choices we make on a daily basis. How do we live? Do we live positively? Do we live for goodness? Do we live to inspire others to improve their lives? So the whole construct of the idea came from that. But as conceptualizing, putting it together, I believe and realize that people are visual. People love to see images because someone would watch a movie rather than reading a book, at least from this part of the world. From the friends I've talked to, they say, I would rather watch a movie because these are images than read a book, because movies are actually also stories. These are stories that are put in action and they're acted. So I said, okay, instead of making the quote so plain and monotonous, why don't I come up with an idea? So I began to brainstorm about different concepts, different ideas. At first I thought of getting illustrations. Then ultimately I got a concept. I said, okay, this is a book that is authored by a Ugandan. Why not use nature, the Ugandan nature, to get images about Uganda? So it was quite interesting, because once I zeroed down on getting nature and the images of Ugandan scenery to include in the book, I now had to go to the next level to find out how do I get these images in the book. Well, after I'd agreed with myself and said I am going to put images in the book about Uganda, of course I had to search and say, what do I do? I have a colleague who is a photographer and loves images. So I reached out to him and told him the concept and the idea. And in my heart, I always knew that this book is going to be different, because, as I said, I'd never come across a book of quotes in my entire life. So I wanted this book to be unique, to be simple, but very authentic. So what I did, I talked to him. His name is called Felix Gisisi. We work with him. So I talked to him about the concept, and he said, wait a minute, I have images of nature. Yeah. So he shared with me his portfolio of images. So I went through them, and interestingly, it's as if this, I would say, a quality collaboration. A collab was made in heaven, because when I looked at the images that he had taken, most of the images were actually very, 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 very authentic, and they were speaking to the quotes that I had written in the book. So I said, wow. So out of the portfolio, I picked some of the images that were relating with the work. As you'll notice in the book, the images that are there are images of birds, because Uganda has very unique birds. You'll notice images of the Makshon waterfalls. Then you'll notice images of our Nile bridge, the eagle that is soaring. So there are a number of images that were speaking, and of course the hot springs in Semiliki. So all these were speaking. So when I picked, like, for example, the image of the hot springs, it was relating with the character chapter of the book, because when you look at the hot springs, there's something hot that is coming out of the ground and springing out of you. Character is within and it's in the heart. So when your character springs out of you into the world, what does it do? Does it ooze goodness, or does it ooze or become a repellent that people will not relate with you? So the images were really connecting with the work that I'd done. So when I put them together, I said, okay, let me now work with an editor to be able to put together the quotes and also put in the images, because, as I said, I wanted the book of quotes to be authentic and original. And as someone reads it and flips through the pages, they're also seeing images and they're not getting bored. So they enjoy the Ugandan scenery, but also enjoy the quotes. For example, there's one very interesting photo that was very captivating. That is my favorite in the book. That was the highlight image of love, because love is one segment about in the book. So that image, when I look at it, it's an image that Felix took at a place in the islands in Sese, and he took a table set that was very interesting. It was right at the beach. The water was very blue, the skies were blue. It's an evening photo. There was a sunset, and because as the sun was setting, it was getting to dawn, so it was getting a bit darker. So they put lamps, yes, those wicker lamps at the walkway towards that table set and dinner set. So for me, it was depicting a very nice set, like where someone can come and sit and make his proposal to a loved one and say, may you marry me. So for me, that photo speaks depth, because the images in there are also speaking a language of authenticity and a language of love, so to speak. So that's my favorite photograph in the book. Of course, there are many other images that are in there, photographs that are in there. If you look at the eye of the photographer, there's a way he has a very sharp eye and keen eye, the way he would pull out the story that the quote says, but I mean, he took these images on his own separately, not knowing that we would work together. But when you see these images, there's a way they bring to life. There's a way they bring to life the quote. There's a way they bring to life the quote. My second favorite image in the book is the image of the sunbird about hope. Wow, wow, wow. That sunbird has very nice, beautiful feathers. So it was dipping its beak into a flower and was sucking nectar. So for me, I related that with hope, because hope is a key ingredient in faith. I'm a Christian, so I believe in the Lord Almighty. And Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1 tells us that faith is the substance of things that are hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So meaning hope is a key ingredient in faith. So if someone has lost their hope, when they become hopeful, they begin to blossom again. So for me, when I saw that image of the sunbird sucking nectar, it was as if it was sucking something of value, that it was taking in something sweet. Hope is sweet because the more you have hope in something or in someone or in life that you have hope, it's as if your heartbeat has been recalibrated, your life source and your soul begins to believe again. You begin to live again. You begin to have that strength to want to carry on and move on even when things look dark and they look grim and they look gloom. Faith in itself comes into your life because hope ushers faith in. Actually, faith and hope are twins because you can't separate the two. Where there's hope, there's always faith. Where there's faith, there's always hope. So for me, these images were outstanding. And I'll tell you, and I'll not lie to you, there's a time we were having a dinner at the Sheraton. I met Felix and I told Felix, I have a very strong gut feeling in my heart because this book is just unique. It's so different. There's something so special about it. When I look at it as the author myself, as an author, as an artist, because we are people who are creative. A creative will always know that this work, there's something just right about it. This book is going to go places. This book is going to win awards. It was just a gut feeling. My gut was clear. I remember telling Felix, this book is going to win awards. And we're just like during edits, and I didn't know that I was actually speaking in the prophetic. Yes, and very interesting things came thereafter. But one thing I can say is the photographer has a very good eye for art. Yeah, he has a very good eye for art. He's a person, from what I see, when he walks with his camera and lens, he will always pose and photograph anything that is just around you. He will see a butterfly pass and he photographs it. He will see maybe a dragonfly pass and he will photograph it. He will hear kids play and he photographs them. I think art is right about that moment. How do you capture? How do you steal the moment? How do you keep it still? Because we live in a timeline and time moves, but photography is about stealing the moment. How do you steal it, pause it, freeze it in that moment? And the images in the book speak volumes. They are art in themselves. The quotes are, yes, artistic, and they speak to the soul because I've got many people who've read the books. They've told me, wow, Richard, looks like you're a philosopher. And I'm like, wait a minute, a philosopher? No way. Me, I can't be. How do I be a philosopher? I just wrote from the heart. Yeah, I didn't have to, overthink. I just wrote what I was seeing during the time of lockdown, the way things were going on, the way news, when you look at the news, you hear stories, diaspora, 500 people have passed on, thousands of people have passed on, the numbers were out of the roof. So for me, I was just writing from the heart, the way I was feeling exactly what it was. But one key thing for me on the hope aspect was, God, use me to write a few words that will inspire someone and bring back their hope, because people had lost hope. People had lost hope, especially those who are most affected. Of course, condolences to you all who lost your loved ones. Condolences to you that lost maybe your jobs during that time. Maybe there's something that was happening that people lost in their lives. And for me, telling God, use me, that these words will inspire somebody out there and give them hope once again. I cannot thank Felix anymore, because I've thanked him 10,000 times because the work he put together. There's also an image I like in the book of the Nile Bridge. Yes, and the way he captured that image, it was at night. So when you look at those nice, beautiful lights that look like almost fireworks at the Nile Bridge, there's a reflection at night. So the bridge is reflecting the Nile River. So that reflection is so captivating. The image is too captivating. Even the angles by which he took that image was so authentic. So I used that image of the Nile Bridge to write one of the quotes that says, and I quote myself, of course I'm quoting myself here, that says that it's not worth it for you to be a public success and a private failure. Yeah, because many people want to live in the public life, succeed, but privately they're struggling with their own lives. They're suffering with an addiction. They're suffering. They have a broken family, maybe a hurting marriage, or those who are not maybe are struggling with something personal at a personal level. So I said, hold your friendships and your family well, and cup them like you cup a butterfly. Because if you cup a butterfly too hard, you crush it. If you hold it lightly, it will fly away. Just have that delicate balance about your friends and your family. So when I saw the image of the Nile Bridge and I put it together right with the quote, so for me it was like a reflection. When I saw the reflection of the Nile Bridge, its beauty as it is, sometimes we take things for granted. So that reflection of the beauty of the Nile Bridge and now reflecting the waters of the River Nile was breathtaking for me. It was like, now how do you hold those lights of beauty in your friendships, in your family, and hold on to them dearly? Because if you do hold them carefully and dearly, these family and friends become a bridge to life. So that bridge, man, there was art in here. I was like, what? I was like, thank God Felix UCC took these images and they are accentuating the narrative within the quote. So I was like, wow. Wait a minute. When you look at the image of the Makshon Falls, wow. It's said there's over about, is it 1 billion or 1 million? I'm not sure. Let me not give you information that is not right. I think 1 million or 1 billion. I've been there once and seen the gorges of the Makshon Falls. That I think 1 billion or 1 million cubic meters of water force themselves through that gorge of the Makshon Falls and create one of the most profound beauties anyone can ever see in the Pearl of Africa, in Uganda, at the Makshon Falls. So that image, when I saw it, how water goes in there and then it rises and creates that hue of sort of like a rainbow kind, because the waters begin to create a bit of a misty environment. So when the sunlight goes through, it creates that form of the colors like of a rainbow. If you've been there, you'd see that experience and breathtaking experience. Then you look at the hot water in there going through the gorges, white almost as snow. It's just like there's something that is oozing out of your soul, something like out of love oozing out of your soul. So the images were actually so alive to me when I saw them, and I said, wow, God, thank you so much, because these images and these photographs are bringing to life the character and the heartbeat and the personality of the book Inspired by 40. So I was like, wow. These images actually are profound. When I looked at them and I was putting together my quotes, I was like, man, hats off. This book has been one of my most powerful book, my most favorite book. Remember I said I didn't ever believe quotes could even impact lives. But hey, wait a minute. There's a lot more I have to tell you about this course, because even up to now, I'm still mind blown away. My mind has been blown away. Thank you.